only to be too overwhelmed to share in this forum, that many of us feel the need to express how fully losing Tilly has changed our lives. Present today remotely are my parents, my brother Chris Lejeune, my sisters Melita Charm and Auntie Nasia, my cousin Allison Van Alphen that lived with us growing up, my aunt Teresa Van Alphen, my aunts Teresa Van Alphen and Marcy Duprat, and my uncle Eric Duprat, as well as my grandmother Virginia Anderson. My mother, brother Christopher, sister Ati, and Aunt Teresa will address the court, and a written statement will be read on behalf of my father. It feels nearly impossible to express the enormous role my brother played in our family. We are a mixed family, though I never realized my siblings were half-siblings until I was much older. Talishan, however, was my father's only son, and he had my father's unique ability to bring levity and humor to challenging situations. He was incredibly bright and always showed talent in every aspect of his life. It was a huge gift to watch him grow up, to teach him math, see him excel in school, cheer him on at his little league and soccer games, listen to him freestyle at family gatherings, and with 5 older sisters, also give him endless grief when he wasn't a good feminist. While he could have done anything with his life, he cared deeply for the world. Like all of us, he was raised to celebrate diversity, be a steward to the planet, and to stand up for his beliefs. Like all of us, he had a deep desire to be a supportive ally and to make sure this planet was left in a better place than when he came into it. We were so proud of him when he was accepted to Reed College as a junior in high school, and impressed at his reflections when he took a gap year to experience other cultures and places. We expected him to use every privilege he had as an educated white male to make this world better. And when he took a job at Cadmus Group, a consultancy focused on socio-environmental challenges, we were not at all surprised. He was thrilled to have found a place for growth in an organization that shared his values for equity and environmental preservation. He loved his newfound stability and was excited to grow roots in Portland, to have weekly family dinners with some of his sisters, to play in his yard with his nephews and nieces, to create a support plan for a sister who suffers from schizophrenia, and of course, to be a part of the support network for our parents. He had big dreams, and we all dreamed with him. Tilly's death was an enormous blow to our entire family on countless levels. My parents, siblings, and extended family are still reeling from the loss. The graphic and violent nature has created a trauma response for all of us. My sister, who is managing to live a relatively normal life with her mental illness, is unrecognizable. The moment Tilly died, we lost 2 siblings. My mother, however, not only had to deal with the loss of her son, but with the loss and demanding care of her daughter. Talishan was a huge part of the family support network. He was actively engaged and had deep connections to all of us and a strong sense of responsibility in caring for his family as a whole. My younger sister was 18 at the time and witnessed the freak and graphic, violent stabbing of a dear friend only a few months before my brother was murdered by Mr. Christian. She held her friend in her arms while he died, and then had to run for fear of her own life. The first person she called once she made it to safety was my brother, Talishan. He was a pillar of strength for all of us. Imagine the impact of losing your brother to the same kind of traumatic incident, to the same stab wounds that took the life of your friend only months prior. And after your brother's death, to be traumatized by trolling online when people sent you graphic and violent images. My other younger sister began her master's in teaching the summer of my brother's death, and a visit to the MAP station was part of her syllabus as a part of a dialogue on Portland's racist and inequitable past and present. We all lost not only our brother and friend, but we lost him in a traumatic and terrible way that we have had to continually confront in our daily lives. I moved to Portland with my 2 children and husband 1 month before my brother's death. We moved into a house that he found for us and lived in for 2 years before my family was able to transition from Oakland, California. We moved to Portland to be near my brother Talishan and my sister Kriya. We had weekly dinners with extra visits in between in the month before his death. We had endless plans for camping and running, and my brother had countless hopes, however unfounded, that I would start cooking extra portions so he could give up on trying to cook himself. I was at Mount Tabor. At the playground, he introduced me and my children to on the day he died. I drove past the Max station that evening after picking up my husband from the airport, roped off and chaotic. It was my door that the police came to at 10:45 p.m. the night of May 26, 2017. And it was on my stairs sobbing that I was the first family member to hear of my brother's death. My sister Kriya and I had to call our parents and siblings and tell them that their son and brother was dead. I had to suffer the traumatic loss of my brother in a house still filled with unpacked boxes, in a house that had been his home, and in a place where he and my sister were my only community. A place he had dreamed for my family and I. I had to parent my children as a shell of a person, crawling into a corner in fetal position every time an ambulance passed or my husband slapped a fly loudly and I was startled. I had to suffer the loss of a brother that was not only a sibling and uncle, but a best friend. I had just arrived. After years of living too far away, he had plans. We had plans. He was supposed to be the uncle that stuffed my kids' ice cream and pushed them on swings. Instead, I have spent 3 years in therapy, learning tools to help me back to the emotional place where I started, to assist me in being a better parent and partner, and to live with the PTSD this event has caused. My brother stood up on that train because he had a strong moral compass, because he wanted to be a good ally. He did so in the way his gut led him, as our education system never taught him how to de-escalate, and our upbringing did not prepare him for the violent way hate can manifest. If he was alive today, you can bet he would be out protesting every night, that he would be educating himself on how to be actively anti-racist. He would be signing petitions for universal child care and reminding me that the silver lining of this pandemic is that people are driving less and that the unrest has given space for much needed action for change. He had a huge heart and his intentions were always the best. He never left a friend in need or backed out in the face of injustice. He would be showing up for this world and community and still sending my kids silly messages and hosting social distance barbecues in his backyard so he could see them play, feed them junk food, and make us all laugh. I wish that I could look you in the face as I say this. Your crime, Mr. Christian, was not only the murder of my brother, but robbery. You robbed me of one of my favorite people on this planet. You robbed me of the look on his face when he sang happy birthday to my son on his first, second, and third birthday. Of his wild dancing at my sister's weddings. Of watching my daughter laugh as he gave her crazy shoulder rides. You robbed me of chasing his future kids around a yard, of hikes, camping, fights, meals, and a huge amount of loving support. You also robbed me of my disillusionment. And I will honor my brother every day by seeing the inequity of this world and doing what I can to be a better ally and human. Your crimes have many victims, not just as defined by law. Every person on that MAX train that lives with trauma in their bodies after witnessing these events. Any person intimidated to ride transit to get where they need to go. And even your own family your mother that I watched for weeks show up because love is stronger than hate. This community and the world offered such a huge outpouring of overwhelming love and support. We have felt so blessed to see that my brother's light was carried on in the hearts of many. It unified our family with this community as we felt solidarity in our grief. It offered us rays of hope in the midst of all the darkness. It showed us the power of community once again. To all of you, those we know and those we've never met, we were supported by immense love and generosity, tangibly shown in the forms of meals, childcare, and financial contributions. Because of this support, financial hardship and disaster were not added to the emotional toll of Tilly's loss. You enabled us to be together, to weep over his body as a family united by our love for him and one another. We have been and continue to be more grateful than I can describe. I want to thank every witness that braved reliving that day, and the prosecutors and advocates that not only worked tirelessly, but also created a safe place for our family throughout this journey. I am endlessly grateful that resources like the Crime Victims Law Center exist. It provided our family the immense gift of having Erin Olson as our family's representation, and I honestly don't know that I would have survived navigating this without her. To the jury that gave away a month of their lives to make sure that a just verdict was reached, and certainly to this court for the sympathetic, resourceful, and protective way you have handled the proceedings of this case. I hope that Mr. Christian will receive true life in prison with no chance of parole, that he will be separated from those that have his proclivity for racial and religious prejudice. I hope that I will never have to worry about seeing him on the streets or have to see his face anywhere for the rest of my life. I want to leave this trauma behind and finally have space to grieve my brother, my big little brother with a receding hairline, that wore my tutus to sell lemonade when we were little, that watched Legally Blonde 700 times, that played lawyer in speech and debate, that lectured me on transferring colleges, that was one of the first set of hands to hold my daughter, my sweet brother that smiled like the sun and filled my life with light.
Thanks a lot.
Can they stay in while their family members do too?
Yes. Okay, so we need to move the laptop while we're having remote video. It needs to be. Got it. Seems to be happening.
Next up is Asha Lewis, Judge. She's going to do her statement remotely, and I think they're working on
I'm
it.
sorry, I'm trying to do this deliverance and then,
She's going to give her statement remotely, and I think we're just about ready for that.
okay.
She's having some technical difficulties, so if you have a hard time, we might go to the next one, I'll try and reach her and see if she's able to.
While we're waiting for that, I've been reminded that our doors close, hard and fast at 5 p.m. Everyone needs to be out of the building by 5, so sheriff's, so are people able to continue in the morning if they need to?
Certainly.
And Mr. Foley? Are you able to continue in the morning if we have to?
Yes, Judge.
So you look at your calendar there.
We don't have video, but
We have audio and not video.
Does Asha have video herself?
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go.
And we can see you.
Ms. Deliverance, can you hear me?
I think she's on mute or maybe we can turn it up.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, that looks good.
Okay, great. Good morning, good afternoon, Ms. Deliverance.
The court, especially Kevin Olson, we're working pro bono. I'm sure it hasn't been easy. Our families, I'm sure it's been like really reluctant.
I'm getting a little words, you're breaking up in some parts, and so I'm not hearing everything. I don't know if that's, maybe you could just lean in close and speak slowly.
Okay. Is that better?
I think so. So keep going, thank you.
I can't hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just wanted to take a moment, thank everybody. I didn't get the opportunity yet. I want to take words for thank our lovely lawyers that as attorneys that worked with us, especially Meredith Olson, for dealing with our huge family and all of its business. And I really wanted to thank all the people who were witnesses, who were on the train, who were there for that moment, who stood up to be real people and to take the action that was required at that moment. My heart is wrapped around all of you because I realize that we're all in this together. We've all had this traumatic experience, and we all need to continually support each other and choose love. I also wanted to clarify something that happened in the court that was very touching. I found out right after that while Tanishan was holding a lunch, remember he was hanging on to that lunch all through the whole experience, and then he put it neatly on the bench with his cell phone on it. That lunch was meant for a young boy that every day the training was waiting for him, a homeless boy, to feed him and to sit with him and just be his friend. And that information was shared with me later by someone who was at the train station and had met that boy. So I thought that the court should know that because it's depicting of the kind of person that Tanishan is. So here's my impact statement regarding the murder of my beloved son Tanishan. Included will be statements speaking to the effects on me personally and professionally, as well as details about how this has oldest daughter, Indira, say a prayer. I am the mother of a beautiful, intelligent family, so thus. I have raised all my children with infinite love, holistic intention, higher purpose. Having wanted their lives shortened unnecessarily by Jeremy Christian's actions is devastating. His violence on the next train that puts the life of the son cannot be put into words. The impact is beyond measure, both emotionally and financially, for me personally, and has eroded the well-being of my entire family and community. Jeremy killed my son. As a result, has taken a little bit of life from everyone who knew and loved Felicia. The entire world has lost a beautiful boy. My beloved Felicia was born March 9, 1994. We lived in a beautiful home in the park in Ashland, Oregon. He nursed for 3 years, and we were very bonded. I was working from home, and so he was always by my side. He was a highly energetic, inquisitive, and playfully mischievous child. While these qualities were often challenging for me as a mother, they made him the free-spirited and deep thinker that was loved by all who knew him. He was charming, inspiring, and excelled at school, as well as extracurricular activities, including music, sports, and martial arts. While Felicia was growing up, I facilitated a forum of top thinkers. This exposed him to world-class educators in science and consciousness. Felicia engaged deeply with each presenter and became the prodigy of many of them. He was mentored by globally recognized chemists, physicists, inventors, green energy and technology inventors, constitutional lawyers, and environmental lawyers as well. We each had faith that Felicia would bring a brighter future. Each feel his death as a great loss. Felicia had a quest for knowledge and chose to attend the prestigious Robert Louis Stevenson School. It was a high school boarding school, and I remember the day he told me he chose that. He said, "Mom, it's not what you know, it's who you know if you're going to change the world." And he baited me to make sure he went to that school. His academic success at Stevenson led him to be admitted to Eton College, the only incoming high school senior. Hundreds applied for that honor every year, and only one was chosen, and Felicia was chosen that year. During his senior year in college, he interned at the Cadmus Group, an environmental consultancy in Portland, Oregon, also as a national consultancy. And he thrived there, and was offered a job upon graduation. After working at Cadmus, he didn't know how long, maybe a few years, he would take his next educational course and learn business. At least he told me so, that his plan was to take over the family business upon my retirement. That said, the following statements are my attempt to give you some insight of the devastation caused by Jeremy Christian's actions in May of 2017. Regarding my company, Pacific Domes, which is a world leader in architectural innovations, Felicia is not here any longer to fill my shoes. All my other children have their lives planned in other directions. That leaves me as the CEO with full responsibilities beyond my anticipated retirement age. Regarding my daughter, Indira, who is 12 years older than Felicia, she helped raise him and loved him like her own. 10 years prior to Felicia's death, Indira was modeling in Europe. She was being interviewed to be a spokesperson on MTV Europe. And someone slipped her drink with a bad drug. It created chronic illness, mental illness. He was so close to Felicia, and his death caused complete exacerbation of her mental illness. issues now became unmanageable. And the subsequent trauma on her family has been devastating. Tuition's death and Jared's condition has declined so much that it is now necessary for me to be her full-time guardian and provide 24-hour care. As CEO, my company, my ability to effectively manage has been compromised. It increases strains on the entire staff and my family as well. So, Jared also has suffered morphine, mental illness, which was manageable prior to her brother's death. Now it has become torturous. She plummeted into deep despair emotionally and has developed major psychosis. She has been in and out of hospitals and/or under the care of several physicians ever since. This has been extremely emotionally draining and expensive, because private facilities cost upwards of $30,000 per month. That requires full-time care. In order for me to leave her to attend my duties at the civic dumps or to attend to my other children and grandchildren, I must hire and manage care for her. This is not only a tremendous financial burden, but it is heartbreaking and tragic to see another one of my children suffering so much. She often asks me, who is torturing me and why? As a result of Indira living at home, my other children have chosen not to visit me. It is emotionally difficult for them to see her suffering, as well as the burden which I endure. They too are suffering. In order to nurture them, I incur, as I said, substantial cost, and Indira does suffer when I do leave her. One of my heartbreaks is that I cannot be more present for my other 6 children, as this has been very difficult for them all. Indira has been classically trained as a harpist since age 9. She has 3 CDs. She played at numerous weddings for people dying and at funerals. She played on stage at festivals and important events, including Leonardo DiCaprio's New Year's Party. She was a great success. Her career had been launched. She was setting up a private practice as a sound healer. Talicia's death has put an end to her career. The classical harp valued at $30,000 sits quietly, and her education of weekly harp lessons over 25 years with a world-class teacher, which were priceless, and now underutilized. There's much more to say as German Christian's actions that killed my son have left a devastating mark on all of our lives. The stress is chronic, and the negative impact of this event is immeasurable emotionally and financially. Hopefully this brief summary provides a snapshot of the pain and challenges my family faced daily. We will forever be impacted by the temptation.
Asha, thank you very much. We appreciate what you told us here today. Do you have anything else that you want to say?
Yes, actually. I'm also going to read a statement from Alicia's mother, who can't be present.
Please do.
This is from Richard Cobb, Alicia's beloved father. It is with deep gratitude for the peoples of different races and religions that have come forth to support our family over this incident. Talicia's murder. One more in a long line of senseless tragedies that has benefited no one. In truth, the vast majority of humankind wants peaceful relations and smooth interactions between one another, and a small percentage seeks to profit from endless disparities and fabricated conflict. The separatist and divisive message that is being promulgated in these times is poison to the hearts and minds of the populace. What is called for the health and safety of all, is more cooperation, kindness, and compassion, with thoughts and actions that respect 7 generations to come. These are not ambiguous words with no meaning. It only takes a moment of self-reflection to recognize our own role in the creative, productive, and effective process working to solve the problems that have occurred through our ignorance of our connection with each other as humans and our involvement with the rest of the vast web of life that sustains this planet. We have little time left to act on this awareness and stand down from the destructive tendencies. Alicia and many others have put forth the message. If we work together to find our common ground and move past our minute, individualized perspective, we may move into our role as evolved and conscious beings that are here to nurture life on this very gem of a planet. Works for a better world. Good job.
Asha, thank you so much for sharing your words and sharing Chris's words with us also. We're going to go ahead now, and I trust you'll stay tuned as we hear from others. Thank you.
Thank you, Deliverance.
Felicia's brother, Chris, is next, Judge. Christopher Luthier. Up there.
Audio test. Can you guys hear me?
We can. We're waiting to be able to see you, Chris.
Is the video enabled on the?
I think we're working on it. Oh, there we go. Chris, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. It's nice to see you again. And we just heard from Asha, and it's now your opportunity to let the court, Mr. Christian, know how this has impacted you, what you hope to see happen today. I'm going to sit down. You go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you. So, I'm asking Judge Albrecht and court. I have nothing to say as the defendant. Jeremy Christian stabbed my brother Felician in the neck, causing him to die on May 26, 2017. Since that time, my life and the lives of my family are forever altered by this cowardly act. Felician's older brother. Felician was an intelligent and passionate visionary heading towards a bright future. Heard my sister Vaja and my mother speak about him, so I think you have a good sense of the incredible human that he was. He had a vision of a hopeful future for the world, projected from a pure heart. He was working to realize this vision. His brilliant essay on environmental action, which is one of the most brilliant pieces of writing that I've personally read, the honor of admission into Reed College as the only high school senior that year. Extremely proud of him and everything he stood for, and especially his acts, dying acts. He stood up to protect Destiny and Malia against the violent racist threat that was being perpetrated against them. His death has affected me to the depths of my soul. I love my brother deeply, and I miss him every day. He's also with me always. Much worse than my own direct experience of Felicia's death is feeling for my family. My mother, Felicia's father, my 7 remaining siblings, my nieces and nephews, and for my own immediate family, my wife, my 7-year-old daughter, and my 8-month-old daughter. I'm worried about my family's mental, emotional, and physical health and overall well-being. My mother, who shows up strong every day, who you just heard speak, life is dedicated to her children, who had her son taken from her. My sisters, my brother have lost their brother in a violent way. Live with that for the rest of their lives. We're all very close to Felicia, and many of them are now in therapy and having ongoing anxiety and other issues, although they're all struggling. I know we'll find ways to get through life. My wife is affected emotionally. We're very close. They was only 3 years old. She grew into an amazing young man. We all did. As a mother, she worries for her own world. Daughter Dale, Felicia loved her, and we often video chatted. She learned much too young the cruel reality that her favorite uncle died and his life was taken by another person. 2 years later, when we felt she was able to know, we told her that he was killed by being stabbed in the neck. We've done our best to soften her experience while allowing her to know the truth. The truth is that we should stood up for people when it mattered most. She asks often about him. She often breaks down in tears. I ask her what's wrong, and she says she misses Felicia. Undoubtedly, Felicia's death has affected her deeply and will have a lasting effect on her life. I'm sure this is also the case with my nieces and nephews. Younger ones will never know their uncle and only know the story. They will always know a piece of her. Thankful for the great work done by the detectives, district attorney and his team, Aaron, our family attorney, the entire court team, but especially the jury. We have a very difficult task. All the brave witnesses who come to testify. Nonetheless, the last 3 years waiting for justice has been torturous. Our lives will be forever scarred by the loss of Felicia and Ricky Best. We expect now that Jeremy Christian will never be allowed to be in a position to do harm to any other person again, and he will receive the fullest weight of his actions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Lejeune.
Chris, thanks so much. We're going to go to the next member of the family, which is Adi.
Audie is not on the attendee list in the WebEx event currently.
We will deal with that maybe, and to keep the process moving, maybe we could move on for now to Aunt Teresa Van Olfen.
Can you hear me?
Teresa, I can hear you. This is Jeff Howes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Do you have video?
We're about to. Hold on for a second.
Can you see me now?
Not yet.
There, sorry. Okay. I think it's kind of done. Would can you see me now?
Well, there we go. Ms. Van Hoffen, can you see us? Or some of us?
Okay. So, when we start,
Yeah, go ahead.
first of all, I'd like to take place to thank the court, Judge Albright, that, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I'd like to thank Jeff and Don and Detective Michaels for their hard work and dedication, for their team, who worked tirelessly to bring Jeremy Christian to justice. I'd like to thank Julie and Chanel and all the folks on the victims advocacy team. I'd like to thank the jurors for their dedication in performing their civic duty with patience and thoughtfulness. I would especially like to thank Erin Olson for volunteering her time and offering compassionate support for my family through this difficult time. Thank you to all the victims, their families, all the witnesses, and to the community who came together to show their support for one another over the past 3 very long years. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't lament the loss of my nephew. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't replay that last phone conversation in my head, considering all of the things that I might have said differently. I had only insisted that he stay on the phone with me until he arrived safely home. Only. Everyone keeps telling me it's not my fault. Of course they are right. There is only one person at fault for Felicia's untimely death at the age of 23. That person is Jeremy Christian. The knowledge of that fact is of little consolation to me, as Jeremy is alive and Felician is not. Felician was the closest thing that I had to his son. A 23-year-old calls his auntie every other week just to check in and talk about life, about family, politics, and future plans. What 23-year-old offers to pay for a flight just to go hang out in Vegas for a weekend? To spend some quality time together. Felician did. He's now gone, and I fear that the hole in my heart will never heal. Every day I think about the void that has been created in this world as a result of his murder. I think about the fact that his parents have lost their son, that his siblings have lost their brother. I think about his nieces and nephews who will never know their uncle. I think about his cousins, aunts, and uncles who will miss him at family gatherings. I think about the marriage I won't get to attend and the children we will never have. I think about his friends and co-workers and all of the people who have been impacted by the murder. Every day, I think about how proud I was of him for working so hard to finish at the top of his class in high school, how hard he worked to get a scholarship and his degree from Reed College, how excited he was about his job and the doors that were open for him. I think about how proud I was of the amazing and caring person we had blossomed into. There's simply no way to put into words the impact that Felicia's murder has had on myself and my family, or the impact that it will continue to have on us for the rest of our lives. We've all been fundamentally changed by this atrocity. And it occurs to me that this has had a tremendous impact on our society as a whole. I'd like to reflect on the issue of free speech that has been raised during the events of May 26, 2017. The fact that it has been raised as part of the defense argument during this trial. Our Declaration of Independence states that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our Constitution guarantees us the right to establish justice and ensure domestic tranquility. The First Amendment protects our right to freedom of speech, of the press, and the right to peaceful assembly. I believe with these words, the framers intended to protect the people from the powers of oppressive government. I don't believe they intended to give individual citizens the right to engage in racist hate speech and to verbally assault passengers on a train or public gatherings. Yet the Supreme Court has historically upheld that hate speech is not limited under the Constitution. I believe that everyone is entitled to their free speech, but the minute that speech is directed at an individual or group of individuals in a threatening manner, based on their perceived race or religion, and to the extent that it impedes the right of another person to their domestic tranquility or their pursuit of happiness, then we must create just laws protecting the rights of all citizens for the greater good of our society. Hate speech is not free speech, Jeremy. We shouldn't try to stand up to a racist who was engaged in hate crime by verbally assaulting two defenseless girls without provocation based on their perceived race or religion. He paid the ultimate price for his heroism. Apparently, the KKK is alive and well in this country. How can I live with this? I cannot. Now Felician is gone. His family and all those who knew them are left to try to make some sense of it all. I may never be able to. I've become cynical, withdrawn, angry, and resentful. I've had countless sleepless nights. My work, my relationships, my family, and my community have all been impacted. I'm fearful that I have to go out in public and therefore avoid public events and social gatherings. I now have to take medication for depression and anxiety. My family has been forever changed by Felician's murder. I dropped out of my studies as a result of his murder. We'll never in this life be able to talk to him, laugh with him, or feel his embrace. There's no way to quantify the life that has been taken from us, or the love that we'll never again have the opportunity to express. Our only consolation, if it's any consolation at all, is that Jeremy Christian receives the maximum sentence of life in prison without possibility of parole. True life. So that he can never harm another person. Fearful for retribution against myself and my family, should he ever be allowed to walk free again. Let him have his free speech from the confines of a prison cell for the rest of his life. Let us send a strong, clear message to all of the haters that we, the people, will not tolerate the promotion of racism and xenophobia in a manner that threatens another human being's individual freedom. The right to tranquility and the pursuit of happiness. I believe that if Felician could speak today, that is what he might say. As demonstrated by his final heroic action and ultimate sacrifice, Felician non-Paneche was the true patriot. His life was victim impact statement to be filed with the court and become part of the public record.
Thank you, Ms. Van Olfen. We appreciate your time today and your thoughts. Judge, my understanding is that we couldn't reach audio, not see on the phone. So now I'm going to move on.
Okay, if you want to go.
Oh, I guess maybe I spoke just slightly too soon. Maybe we do have
She
audio.
says she's logged in, so.
Okay.
Is she logged in under her own name?
I asked her the email address she logged in, and if she used it to sign in, and she said yes.
She
So
says she's correct.
she's watching right now, and my fear is maybe she logged in on the public site, but so she's under her name.
Miss Olson, does she have an alternate name?
Oh, that's it, ETI-NASIAH. And she says that she'll call in if this doesn't work.
If we can't raise audio by video, can we type her in by phone?
I think we should be able to.
I have a phone number here for you.
Hold on. I don't have it, never mind.
There you go.
Isn't that long distance?
Did you ask me a question? Sorry, did you ask me a question?
Said I think that's long distance.
I assume so.
It is 72378.
Is this planning with you? Hi, this is Dr. Long, I was the first director of health, right? Can I get you on WebEx and then put you on the phone, okay? I can hear you right now, I'm gonna plug you into the speaker in the courtroom. Just hang on just one moment. All right, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, one moment.
You?
Audience, Jeff House with the DA's office. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good to go. Thank you so much for your patience, and we've heard from a lot of your family members, and we're eager to hear from you. And so I'm not going to say a lot. I just want to let you know that it's your opportunity to tell the court and the people gathered here your feelings and what you hope to see happen. So, so take it away. I'm going to sit down.
Thank you.
Before I begin, I want to acknowledge
Oh,
that
so it got real quiet.
Residing on the unceded territories of the Kwan and Taku Kwan, what is currently known as Juneau, Alaska. I acknowledge that Plaquemine people have been stewards of this land since time immemorial, and I am grateful for that stewardship, and I am grateful for their incredible care. I honor the complex relationship that exists between Black and Indigenous people and this land, between people and their ancestors,
between all of us and future generations. I am committed to working towards healing and liberation, recognizing that our paths are all tied up in one another and our inextricable histories. I acknowledge that we all arrived here by listening to the people and elders and lessons of each other, and that these stories carry us as we weave a healthier world for future generations. Thank you to the court for rearranging so that Jeremy Christian is able to listen and watch victim impact statements. I understand that accountability is a choice he must make, and I also understand that we have an obligation to help close the gap for his practice of accountability. Before I begin, I also want to thank all of those who shared words before me, and I want you to know that your words will not fall on the floor. I'm here to catch your words and catch your tears and make meaning out of the horrific and painful experiences that you have lived through. And I know that we are in this together. I am going to share a little sliver of a deep journey that I've made. The moment that my little brother Felician was stabbed to death by Jeremy Christian, my whole body knew what my mind did not know. I had been sitting in a conference for 4 days learning about early secure attachment with infants. I was learning about this because I am committed to ending violence and preventing violence. And in the midst of this conference, my whole body was suddenly struck with an overwhelming feel of nausea. It was so powerful, it was so strong. I stumbled my way outside of the conference, face planted into the mud and soil, whole body sweating and vomiting and moaning. I lay there in deep, deep pain. Later to understand that this is the same time my brother and Ricky were being stabbed to death by violence, by hatred, by fear. This sickness that I felt in that moment stuck with me for weeks. It carried me on the plane to Portland. I stayed sick while grieving with my family in the days after Felician had passed. The depth of this sickness in every cell of my body helped me grieve so heavily. The day that I flew to Portland to be with my family in the wake of Felician's murder, I had originally had plans to board our boat, our fishing vessel, with my small, precious family. I had taken the week off work. My husband and I decided to go to Baranoff Warm Springs, a very, very special place to me. A place that I had gone 7 years prior, just days before our wedding day, with my closest girlfriend. A place where I had carried my very first child, just days before getting married to my husband. So instead of going to Baranoff Warm Springs with my family, where we were going to welcome new life and a new child into our lives, my heart broke. My heart broke with a world that's so dark, so cruel, so unkind, that I didn't know if I could ever imagine bringing another human life into this world. With a heart so broken, I didn't know if my heart could withstand ever loving another human again, knowing what it feels like to lose love to the degree that we had all endured. So the grief in these past few years, I mean, we all know it and you've heard it. It's like cement. At first, you don't know if you're going to be able to move. You don't know if there's any hope in the universe manifesting in the ways of love and kindness. It's overwhelming. This grief has changed all of us. But I, like many, I stand on the shoulders of giants. The opportunity to grieve so deeply allows for me to heal my great-great-great-great-grandmothers and my great-great-great-great-grandchildren. I put in the deep, hard work of witnessing the horrific, historical, and intergenerational trauma and violence that was born on this land as a result of colonization and patriarchy, as a result of slavery and senseless, horrific violence. I stand firmly in the knowledge that we as a nation created Jeremy Christian. He is nothing new. He manifests the horrific values of capitalism, patriarchy, colonization, racism, sexism. It takes courage to heal. It takes courage to heal and break down a cycle that's founded on owning, selling, raping, and violating humans. Oppression and violence are societal problems with tragic personal consequences, and they're interwoven into the fabric of our experiences. Violence is maintained within systems, as we've seen in this example, manifested through coercive force, by use of power and control. This violence and exploitive power manifests across all people and most impact those indigenous, Black, queer communities. Racial, gender, ableist, and colonial violence must end. We must aim to end violence for everyone, knowing that our liberation is rooted in our interdependence and is all bound up together. We must do so by impacting the inequities for communities most impacted by this violence. We are so powerful. Despite all the evidence, all of the violence, we, millions of us, as a result of Jeremy Christensen's violence and others who uphold the beliefs of white supremacy and the patriarchy, we rise, we stand shoulder to shoulder on our ancestors, with our ancestors, for our ancestors. We choose love. We are committed to working hard for socially just communities. We are healing together. We are creating a world that is in reciprocal, healthy relationship with the land and all of the living beings around us. We long for this world. We make it manifest when each and every single human being steps into the hard work, the hard sweat, the real heavy lifting of healing their ancestral trauma, the trauma that we've inherited, the oppressive systems that we have inherited. We have a responsibility to listen deeply to our hearts and to continue healing. Thank you, Jeremy, for this opportunity. My great-great-great-grandchildren will never, never carry the trauma of our past because I have done the work of healing, and I will continue to do the work of healing. And I demand and command all of us, law enforcement, max train employees, those serving in the court, everyone, we have failed and continue to fail if we do not step in and do the healing work. After years and years of grief and anger and confusion and despair, my heart finally became strong enough to say yes to life. I gave birth to my daughter, Talia Miran Zia, her uncle's namesake. She carries his fire for justice, his heart of pure gold. She was born on the full moon spring equinox, a day of equal balance between light and dark, a day that marks spring, new beginnings, new life, new possibilities. Despite all the evidence, I'm flexing the muscle of hope. Because this violence won't stop unless all of us change the conditions that perpetuate it, Jeremy, the judge, the jury, law enforcement, all of us, we are the worst. For this reason, I'd like to end with the words of my brother, Felician Mirden, at the age of 16, inviting you in. He states, I implore you to carefully examine the aggregate of your being, the virtues as well as the vices. Embrace the virtues, which there are many, and tune the vices as if they were an instrument with a discordant pitch until they too ring beautifully. By doing this, you are setting yourself up for eternal peace so that when you look inward, you will only see a heart of gold. This process is no doubt an arduous one, full of both peace and internal altercations. Therefore, for my gift, I bestow you with this metaphorical compass. May it always show you the way and help you shine like the sun. Thank you for catching my words.
Audie, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are at 4:28. I see Mr. Ford present, and I think we can probably take his statement. I'm not sure we can take Mr. Fletcher's.
We'll do what we can, Judge. I know Mr. Ford's here and he's ready. Ready? Why don't you come on up and,
Good afternoon.
Mr. Ford, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm not going to ask much questions or anything. This is your opportunity to share with the board, with us here, with Mr. Christian, how the events of May 26, 2017 impacted you, affected you, and also your hope for the outcome of this proceeding here today. I just want to thank you for being here, and I'm just going to turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Very good.
So when I was finally made aware that I was not just a witness, I sat and I thought about the fact that I was considered a victim. And I thought, how? Why? By the context in which I'm considered a victim, having to witness this domestic terrorist terrorize two young women who happen to be black passing, subject them and all other passengers to this form of white terrorism, and ultimately take two lives that he never had a hand in creating, while almost taking a third, and then finally being in his path as he fled the scene. Under that context, every human in that car was a victim. Every person who this terror was aimed at, black passing people and any white passing people who side with them. Anyone who saw this video on social media, on the internet, was a victim. Because this messaging is and has been clear for centuries. It has simply evolved with human and technological evolution. But still I understood. I struggled a bit with sleeping prior to this event, but not to the extent that my sleep patterns have been disrupted since these senseless acts of terrorism more than 3 years ago. I fall asleep at different times, late in the evening, early in the morning, sometimes not at all. And then I get up to work, take a class, or whatever I have to do that day. It has affected my ability to bring my best self and do my best work in all phases of my life. My ability to recover and restore has been significantly inhibited, especially in the last 3 years. I liken it to the insomnia and other issues that pervaded after my most violent and long combat tours. Returning home and not really getting the healing and coping mechanisms to begin the efforts to attempt some form of mental, emotional, physiological, and spiritual homeostasis and health. Because I'm in one of the whitest cities in one of the whitest states, I also avoided the press, as well as the discussion about this event, because truthfully, as far as whiteness is concerned, it's hard to know who to trust in the currently constructed society that we live in this country and throughout the world. As I shared with one of the prosecutors, I felt more comfortable in combat than I do simply in peacetime maneuvering through this society and societies like that. With everything that was going on in combat, I knew that whoever was with me or behind me was only focused on everyone getting out alive, regardless of color, gender, etc., because we had a higher priority at hand. And the other biases were essentially removed, albeit temporarily. In this country, we are currently going through a health crisis, a pandemic, and the terrorism continues. Unveiling a centuries-old pandemic of anti-blackness / racism / white terrorism that has never waned or been healed. It simply was morphed into a different-looking plague. You would think the virus would bring out the humanity in all of us. But alas, it has simply brought to the surface the racism that certain people have chose to mix with their foundation, their soil, if you will, and plant seeds of lies, fear, and terror to sprout the trees of the Crusades, colonialism, manifest destiny, slavery, Jim Crow laws, black codes, convict leasing, and eugenics, just to name a few. I was also impacted because the visual of every second of this event is etched in my memory. I've tried to submerge it in the last 3 years, but I've been unsuccessful. I question what I could have done differently most days, if not every day. I've internalized this event, picking it apart, frame by frame. Even beat myself up. Because in my head, people died on my watch. Somewhere in me I knew that it was not my intent nor my actions that created this tragedy. It was his intent, thoughts, words, and actions that caused all of this. But still I internalized. There is no doubt that many of the survivors and victims are doing similar things while coping with elements or different other elements of survivor's guilt. Unfortunately for black passing people, and that's everyone throughout the diaspora, we're traumatized daily to the point that we probably think we deserve it. I was impacted because I have children, and I saw them in these young princesses. 2 young women on their first independent train ride, which they begged their parents to take, were senselessly and unnecessarily terrorized. And I believe they would have been attacked had I and others not stepped in. I was also impacted because lives were forever and irrevocably interrupted. In this society, we are so conditioned into the individualism, we no longer value community. Communal mindsets would never have let this terrorist build up his momentum in threatening these young women, nor in spewing hate, threats, and divisive rhetoric founded in the delusion of white supremacy. But individualist minds will and did. And anti-blackness will and did. This is and will always be the ongoing cost of delusions like white supremacy. I was also impacted because local and national news programs, as well as local publications, initially contacted me through social media to try to identify if I was the witness and victim of this terrorist event, and hopefully get a statement, a story, something to share with the public. Maybe get more ratings or sell more papers. But nothing I would have said or done would have brought back the 2 young men who were killed, and the 3rd young man who was nearly killed, and has a physical reminder of it for life. It wouldn't erase the event from the memories of everyone who witnessed and experienced it. So I chose not to engage in a great deal of the media surrounding this case. In my opinion, every bit of damning evidence was on the video captured on the train. And we were all put through the triggering torture of letting it fester for 3 years, and then forced to relive it in front of the world, while he and his privilege sat comfortably on taxpayers' money and awaited the defense, who were ensuring that his charges could no longer yield the death penalty. Nowhere in these privileged accommodations were the ideas of a speedy trial for the victims and witnesses, for some semblance of justice and hopefully closure and healing. A telling moment for me was when I responded to one of the more persistent press people, saying that if they wanted to unpack or talk about destroying the delusion of white supremacy and all of its residual effects, I was open to talking with them. I never got a response after that. And contrary to popular belief, you don't have to hear, and this is particularly for white passing people, you don't have to hear our stories, nor see our pain to advocate for, your fellow human, or act for human equity or humanity's sake. You simply need to consistently access your empathy, which the majority of you access situationally, and I'll prove it to you. If there was a dog in this courtroom, and anyone mistreated the dog physically, verbally, etc., a great many of us, if not all, would advocate for that dog and report the person who mistreated the dog, in some way demand justice and seek justice and follow through on ensuring justice for that dog. We might have even called the treatment towards the dog inhumane. And none of us speaks dog. None of us knows the dog language to ask about how the incident affected the dog, nor hear the story, etc., etc. We in turn access our empathy. We erect organizations to advocate on a large scale, push for policies and laws to advocate for and protect them, even charge and convict humans for treating those dogs inhumanely. Somehow, empathy is not access for your fellow human, who is and has been being treated inhumanely for centuries. Instead, you provide resistance and give hurtful responses to appease your guilt and complicity. And finally, I was impacted yet again when during the trial I found out that this terrorist had attacked a black queen the night prior, and had this situation been handled appropriately, he would have never been on the train the following day to kill and injure people. When he threatened her life and she defended herself, her blackness made her the assailant, while his whiteness made him somehow the victim. And so now I'm convinced he wanted vengeance against a black woman who dared challenge his access to everything. When this terrorist intruded on the lives of everyone on that train that day, he knew that in some way he was protected by the system his ancestors erected, fortified, and preserved in the same racist ideologies that he espouses. And to be clear, while black passing bodies erected those spaces physically, white passing people were strategizing on how to implement their diabolical and inhumane thoughts, words, and actions into tangible and intangible systems and institutions of perpetual terrorist intent and impact. And knowing the heinous history of this state, I would hope that its inhabitants will want to heal the terror it invoked upon and subjected black passing bodies to since its inception. And healing can only begin with ownership and the same consistency of empathy, education, examples, and effort that fortified the current pandemic of racism, anti-blackness, and white terrorism. Over and over, the Most High continues to afford us humans opportunities to use our divine gifts to leave the world better than we found it. And in the last millennium or so, we have prioritized greed, ego, othering, fear, lies, terror, and industry, and the delusion of white supremacy has led the charge on this throughout the world. In leading that charge, at every turn where justice, equity, and humanity were possible, whiteness changed the rules, changed the law, and continued to thrive, knowing their privilege came at the expense of black passing safety, health, quality of life, and ultimately came at the expense of black passing lives throughout the diaspora. This process remains. When slavery and Jim Crow were no longer allowed to continue, whiteness simply morphed the abuse and control into convict leasing, which is now mass incarceration. And with the internet, have begun a campaign of physical, emotional, spiritual, and now virtual terror, where delusional white supremacists can implement a new black code, a new Jim Crow, and have even more potential impact reaching everyone globally instead of just everyone on a plantation / concentration camp.
We've also linked to the remote video room, I think.
No,
We
we
lost
lost
it all.
the feed to this courtroom. This TV just shut down, so,
Must be time.
sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. It's all been a long day.
It's been a long day.
I can agree with that.
So I'm thinking, I don't want to interrupt Mr. Ford, but I'm thinking about, if we don't have a link to the remote rooms, then we're not fulfilling our obligations under the open court provision, and we need to exit the building by 5 anyway. Let's double check where we are with, our video link to the courtrooms.
I'm not actually sure how to connect this to the WebEx. David was here connecting it for us. I've messaged him,
Yeah, me too.
and he has not responded yet.
Mr. Ford, if you want to wait a few minutes, we can wait a few minutes for you to finish up. One thing that we're feeling that we need to do is make sure that people who are in the other courtrooms watching can watch.
Absolutely. And I'm open to that.
That may, if you're okay to come back tomorrow, that may be, better because the sheriff's office has been locking this building by 5.
No worries, no. I talked it out.
So I think maybe it's probably easiest to go ahead and finish for today.
That's good. I really want to hear what else Mr. Ford has to say, so if he can come back tomorrow, I would really appreciate it. I think everybody would.
I would see that.